What would you like to talk about today, Mama B?
So we had a bit of a delay in filming this episode of our podcast, mostly because we couldn't agree on what we were going to talk about. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is because
we're not perfect.
No, not because we're not perfect.
Because we're not perfect.
No, because
you want to play it safe.
Right.
In the topics that we talk about.
Yeah.
And I want to get deep.
You want to get down to the nitty gritty. And I want to be careful.
Yeah.
With some of the topics that we talk about.
And I appreciate that. Like, I just want to say thank you because you always want to protect us. You want to make sure that we don't give people that opportunity to like throw daggers. Mm-hmm. But I kind of feel like we're so past that.
Right.
Where no matter what you do, no matter what you say, there are people who are going to want to attack you.
Yeah.
Say something, twist things. But it's the people who are out there sticking their neck out, who have a big voice, who risk it all, have courage,
right,
who leave a legacy of greatness.
The biggest risk takers are the ones who succeed the most.
Mm-hmm. If you play it too safe, you'll never grow. So you have to make mistakes. You have to take those calculated risks, right?
Yeah, not all willy-nilly.
Not all willy-nilly, all crazy. You know, I mean, you have to really be careful with what you do, but you do have to take those risks. And I think that if we never took the risk of,
you know, putting ourselves out there with Vine and doing all that, I don't think we'd be here right now.
Totally. And 10 years ago, I remember people saying to us, aren't you worried about putting your kids online and sharing your lives and your family?
Right.
And we were like, are we going to live our lives according to those people when there is a whole world, a whole network of good people in the world? So are we going to live in fear, or are we going to protect our kids?
Right.
Calculated risks, necessary measures to protect them. Here we are.
Yeah, it's these were things we were creating content or making videos that made us laugh, and we had so much fun with it, and we knew that it was making an impact in the world.
And we never did it to be famous, blah, blah, blah. But I want to get back to the original topic, which was why there's been a delay in posting this episode, which we're like, why don't we actually talk about this and be totally honest and transparent, which is that we see the world very differently. And this has had a huge impact in our marriage.
Massive.
Where there have been major battles.
We've always had battles about like what we should post, what we should do. Like, you guys got to know that this is not something where we wake up in the morning and like little birds are flying around us and we got flowers growing around us. We're like, what do you want to do today? Oh, let's make a TikTok reacts video or whatever. We always had our sort of like challenges. But I think that's how you grow. Because if you say yes to everything that I want to do and I say yes to everything that you want to do, we'd be a complete mess.
Which is funny because one of the comments on one of our videos is like, well, you know, you have to have guests because you guys just agree with each other all the time. Oh. And we're like,
not true.
Do you live with us?
Yeah.
You don't live with us. You don't see the battles and I'll say it, arguments. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we've gotten better at being able to talk to each other without it escalating.
Right.
But there's still things that we're both working on.
Yeah, we still feel like we get passionate about some ideas. And then when one person's like, I don't think that's going to work, the other person gets offended, and it's normal. It's normal to do that. And then, you know, and sometimes because when you're with someone for so long, you feel like they should know already why you think it's a bad idea. And then you don't really explain it thoroughly, and I think it's not fair. I think that we've gotten better at explaining the why. It's kind of like, instead of being like, nah, it's not going to work, it's more like, do you know why I think this is not going to work? Because this and that, like even titles to videos.
Yeah, right? Like we were laughing this morning because we shared a dead husband walking video, and it took us forever just to come up with the title of what we were going to call it. And so contrary to what you see on social media with families, with couples who work together, who are partners, right? Like I consider us
partners,
business partners.
Yep.
It's not all dandy mandy.
It's not dandy mandy.
It's not all dandy mandy, everybody. It's not all flowers and roses and
You know,
It's not perfect.
it's not all matching outfits every day of the week. And,
The matching outfits. Can you imagine?
you know, but this is what I appreciate.
In people is being real, being authentic, being transparent. You know, and so this was our thing was it was hard for us to come up with this topic because Papa B, your idea was
Oh, we want to talk about school.
so you wanted to
yes,
continue the
right.
conversation about school and the things that they don't teach you. And I was like, well, I don't want to dedicate 3 videos to talking about school. And I was like, I actually want to talk about the effects of alcohol.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah, because I automatically think, well, wait a second, but we're not.
We're not alcoholics, but it's a very big topic. And then I automatically think, wow, what are, I should take my own advice. I'm like, well, what are people going to think? They're going to assume that it's something different, but that's on another thing. And I agree that you want to push the boundaries. You want to take those risks, but those are the types of
Challenges that we have where I'm like, okay, well, let's do some more school stuff because yeah, the school stuff is very popular and it looks like it's resonated very well. But then, you know, you had a great point. If you keep talking about that, then you become like a school podcast.
Yeah.
So
we'll return to that. And it's kind of like what we used to do with our videos. We were well known with Fortnite dance videos, and then we all kind of thought, well, why don't we just make Fortnite dance videos for the next 2 years? It's like,
you don't want to do that because then it's really hard to recover or to do anything else.
And so one of the things that we've learned in our marriage in order to communicate in a way where it's more about like problem solving, trying to find common ground
Right.
where we don't walk around angry at each other. And we're very aware of what the kids see with us. And I'm so happy, like I was saying to my family, that Dr. Gabor Mate said, when someone asked him, is it okay to argue in front of your children? And he's like, yes, life is difficult. Having a family is difficult. Being married is difficult. What your kids need to see is that repair. They need to see that resolution. And so we have tried to do that very much so because we don't want to mess up our kids.
definitely,
You know,
we
like,
don't want them writing a book when they're 18 or
no,
19.
a tell-all book, the real truth behind the AB family.
Can you imagine?
And so what we have designed is this phrase that says, in my reality, this is what I see. This is what I feel. Because you are a male, I'm a female. The life that you have lived, the experiences, the trials and tribulations, I haven't.
Right.
The trauma that I have, you haven't experienced. And so we see the world very, very differently. We appreciate different things. And so when we get to that, like, is it called a gridlock?
Yeah, it's like that sort of like speed bump.
Yeah. Now it's like, okay, so in my reality, this is what I see, or in my world.
And it's been working wonders for us.
Yeah, it has. Because we're seeing different perspectives every time. So we kind of get to see all angles of things.
And I think that there's also a lot of self-awareness that plays into it. Like we were rewatching our previous podcasts, and I actually turned to Papa B and I was like, I'm really sorry that I cut you off in videos. It's because I'm super passionate. Like I feel like I have so much to say, so much I want to share. And I hope that doesn't come off that I'm cutting you off or I'm being rude, because that's not my intention. But it just goes to show, like, you have to have so much self-awareness in general in life, but especially when you're working with your spouse.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And because we see so many
People who are divorcing and separating.
There's a
and
lot of it.
families falling apart, and we kind of like each other.
Yeah, we do. And I think that just, if we can just recognize, like, when we make our mistakes and just kind of move on, and just be transparent about our feelings. And it's okay. You can work together, like, as a married couple and have this business, as long as you can communicate and as long as you respect the person. I think that as long as there's love and respect, that's really the most important part. Because you'll see stuff sometimes and I'm just like,
That makes no sense. Like, I don't understand how that means. But then I'll sit back and I'll say, like, okay, I understand. Just sitting back, like, where she came from, or, you know, where you actually got that information from. I get it. I understand. Because I'm always looking at it from, like, an analytical side, right? From that, like, right brain creative. But you're looking at it more from, like, this emotional.
I'm very emotional.
Yeah. So
and I
empathic
carry
and-
a lot with me from my life and from my past. And so even with these topics, you want to keep it very top level. And I'm like, I want to get to the nitty gritty and be those examples as a mother and father that people may not have, that we may not have had.
We may not have had. We had completely different parents.
And even with that topic, like, I think that you don't want to share so much when it comes to your parents. And I want to share because there's so many kids out there suffering who don't have that leadership from their parents. And I want to be that for them. And I want us to be that for them. And so this is what we're trying to figure out when it comes to these topics and these podcasts. And, how much is too much?
Right.
And then when it comes to our kids, that's why in this one, we don't have our kids, because this is a very serious topic.
Yeah, it's serious. And it's something that couples should be sharing to figure out, because maybe there's couples watching this right now and they're thinking, you know what, we can't agree on terms. We can't even agree on whether we have to drive this way or that way, and they argue, right? And then maybe they learn that.
We've been with couples where it's like there's storytelling. And so I was here. No, you weren't.
No,
you were
weren't.
like there. And it was 5 o'clock. No, it wasn't. It was 4 o'clock.
And all the whole time.
The whole time they're just arguing with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're sitting there like, wow, they can't even get their stories straight. Like when we're having a good time sitting at a table, all they do is argue. So just imagine behind closed doors.
It's so
what that looks
uncomfortable.
like. Yeah.
And so that's what we've tried to not to do. And, we're going on 21 years of marriage this year. And it hasn't been easy.
But no, it's not perfect. And I think that like with our comedies, we want to make everyone laugh, and when we have a blast, when we probably laugh more than anyone else when we make our videos.
We laugh at our own videos.
Yeah, we do. And
we're naturally funny.
I think we are. I think we do make ourselves laugh a lot.
We've always been funny. Our kids are funny. Our family is hilarious. I think that's why people love hanging out with us.
Laughter is super important. You know what's funny is that even when we argue, there's times where we get heated, and then out of nowhere you'll start laughing because I'll make like an impression of you, or I'll do something, you just start laughing, and then we just start laughing, and I'm like, we can't argue anymore. Like we can't do this
because it's so silly,
right? When you realize.
But again, you feel very passionate about certain things. I feel very passionate about certain things,
right?
And I am a very strong woman.
Yes, very strong woman.
Very outspoken.
Yeah,
I am opinionated, but that opinion comes from lived experience.
Yeah.
And so I try not to talk out of my
bunghole.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, I'm not swearing.
You can swear. I mean, you can swear.
I try not to. I never think that I'm the smartest person in the room. I always think that there's going to be someone who's smarter than me who calls me out. And so whenever I speak, I try to speak from my heart, not from my ego or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's what's worked for us. It's having a marriage, being in a relationship, having a family is very, very challenging, mostly because they don't prepare you for this. Don't you feel like
they never prepare you? That's another podcast. They never prepare you in school about, now here we go about the school thing.
Relationships.
They never show relationships, conflict resolution. Like forget grades, forget all that stuff. Just sit back and just teach people things that they're going to need in the real world. So we're going to talk about that in another thing. But we had to learn all this. And our parents, like, yes, we will talk about our parents in like the next episodes, but it's not even their fault. Like, it's not even that like they woke up one morning and was like, oh, I'm going to be a parent that doesn't know how to parent their kids or whatever, right? They didn't know what they were doing either.
No, you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Yeah, until two people start making videos about it. you start realizing
and this
these
is
things,
not,
right?
again, it's not to badmouth our parents.
No,
it's
no,
not,
no.
I've come to terms with that. My parents have made a lot of mistakes. And I had to dig deep to find forgiveness for that. But it's more, I am who I am today because of the mistakes that they made.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, we don't want to pass on that generational trauma to our own children.
Right.
And so this is why we are so careful, even though we share a family. Like when we tell people that we're introverts and we're super private and, we like to be just ourselves.
Yeah.
And people are like, but you kind of share your family with the world. Like, how does that work?
I know
And we're like, yes, we do. But our family is so important to us.
Yeah.
It's like this sacred temple.
Yeah, it's like this little temple that we just protect, and we try to teach and grow this sacred temple as we go along, and we're going to make mistakes. But yeah, with what we've learned from our parents, We don't want to make the same mistakes. There's like major key moments during parenting when we grew up that we don't want to actually relive, right? And that's another day for another topic.
Conscious parenting. What does that mean? It's just being aware every moment, the effect that you have in your child's life with the things that you do and you say.
And the things that you expose them to. Right? Because I was exposed to some crazy-ish growing up in the 80s. I'm surprised I haven't, like, I don't know. I'm not even going to say it, but I mean, if you're a child of the 80s and you were wonderfully unsupervised, you could pretty much see and do whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
And like, so, and that made us stronger, made me stronger. But these are things that I don't, like, I've learned that I would never want my son or daughter, like our kids to experience. But,
so with these podcasts, there's so many topics, but we are going to go deep. Like, I want to share more about my experiences in my life to really impact and influence young people, because that's where my heart is with children, especially. And so I almost feel like my life has to come with what's a POV?
Like a disclaimer?
Yeah.
Yeah, disclaimer.
Like, my life has to come with a disclaimer because, and again, this is not like as like therapy for myself. We've done therapy.
Yeah.
We've done therapy individually. We've done therapy as a couple, marriage therapy. We highly recommend it to those of you who may be going through tough times, praying for all the families out there, all the marriages, but definitely marriage. You need a third party sometimes to get in there. Yeah. But with these podcasts, we're going to go deep. We're going to go hard, but that's how you leave a legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking those risks.
Take the risks. But with the kids, we're going to keep it light.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy. It's not easy to speak openly with your heart open. And every word that you say is measured nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everyone's got the magnifying glass.
Right? And I've had people who misconstrue my words, and that's not my intention at all in the things that I say. And so now I even have to be even more careful because there's people, again, this is my reality. That's their reality where they've been hurt and something that I say may trigger them so hard. Yeah. But it's almost like you have to look at that. What is it that's triggering you so hard?
Yeah, there's a fear. There's something that happened to you that you're afraid of. What is it? And it's like it always goes back to like your inner child. And now I'm no like psychologist, but it always goes back to like what happened when you were a kid that made you this way when this happens, right? And you got to try to understand that. And that's really hard. It's really challenging. You can't just sit there like in the dark thinking about it. Like it takes years to figure out like why.
Yeah.
You know?
So lots of topics coming up.
A ton of topics.
We love doing this, but again, we don't want to be like, having challenges, difficulties, coming up with stuff, and then just sit in front of the camera. Okay, and we're back with the AB family. Sure. No, it's like when we sit in these chairs and we look at you and we speak to you, we want to do it from a place of realness.
Yeah.
Because
authenticity.
That's something that we value in other people. And I hope that that's something that you value in us.
Absolutely.
Because
we're here and we want to be real.
Yeah.
And we want to share everything we can. And what's the big takeaway of today's episode? The big takeaway
is that being on social media, and there's like this unwritten rule, right? And there's like people who have said, why don't you post daily? And why don't you stick to a set schedule? And it's like, because behind the scenes, it's very difficult to make things work in a way that also works with the rest of life.
Right.
Like people get sick, stuff happens, stuff comes up, you need to fill out forms, the kids have school. And so we're trying to like life and make ourselves available
to the world.
And come up with ideas and share a common goal.
Yeah, there's so much to think about. And I think a lot of families, that create online, they actually put the content first and then they try to work their family around it. But what we do is we put our family first and then we see if the content will actually supplement and help. And I think that's what's really helped us out these past like over 10 years of doing it. It's like We have the chance to do something, we'll do it. But family is always first. Our priorities are first. And if it's 6 months between videos, so be it, because it's, family first.
Thank you for having that same goal that I have, which is to protect our family above all else.
Yeah.
And I think that people get carried away with the likes and the comments and the follows and the, trying to hit it
Exactly.
every single time. Whereas that's a real family back there. Those are real children. I would love to be able to sit down with those kids and be like, how are you doing?
Yeah. Do they put the family first or the content
Yeah.
first? That's the question.
Do your parents talk to you? Like, do they ask you how you're doing? Do they sit with you? Do they play with you? Do they talk to you about life? Do they coach you? At the end of the day, it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
We've gone this far, and there's so much more.
There's so much more. And you can clearly see it because we know that these podcasts are new. These episodes are new. They're not generating the 10 million or 6 million views. And as you can see, we don't care about that. Because on a 10 million, right, our ego isn't hurt. We don't care. With 10 million subscribers, someone who has a fragile ego or an issue with that would be like, I could never post a video that only gets 40,000. That's 40,000 people. In fact, these podcasts have actually gotten more engagement from people, real people sending us messages saying how much of an impact they've had. So 50,000 or 100,000 views to a channel that has 10 million subscribers is actually pretty amazing because it's impacting actually more people.
Yeah, we've gotten messages from highly respected people in the industry saying, keep it going, guys. I'm really loving what you guys are creating with these podcasts. It's making a difference.
Right.
I love listening to what you have to say. And so this is what we're going to continue to do.
Yep, absolutely.
We're also going to continue with the comedy.
We actually posted a comedy on our everywhere. Everywhere, because every time we post a comedy, it goes pretty much everywhere. So
Yeah.
we do that as well. And we love it. We have fun.
See, I didn't cut you off today, or maybe I did
didn't.
once or twice.
No, but I like it when you cut me off.
No.
Because every time you're going to say something, it's always important. It's always a mama bee moment. So that's why it's like, it's important.
Thank you.
You're way better at this than I am, for sure. I'm more of like, why do you think I made Vines in the beginning, right? Because it was 6 seconds. I didn't have to think so much, but this is why you're here.
And that's the last idea, I think, in this marriage-related topic, is that we each have gifts. We each have strengths. And whereas before, we would get mad at each other because of what we were each lacking.
Yeah.
Now we recognize, okay, you're really good at these things. I'm really good at these things.
Yeah. Just mesh
Right?
it. Yeah.
Okay, you do your thing because you're really good at this. And now I'll do my thing.
Right.
And we just keep going and going.
Yeah, we just keep stacking.
And so instead of resenting each other, right, for the fact like you don't love to cook.
Right.
You're not passionate
I'm not
about
passionate about
cooking and creating
I can
things.
do a mean teriyaki now.
Yeah.
Teriyaki beef or chicken or whatever. it is.
And I'm not big on the whole technology thing. Like I wouldn't even know how to edit a video.
Right.
And so instead of arguing about that and resenting each other, it's like, okay, now you do this, I'll do this. You do this, I'll do this.
Yep.
And guys, that's how you fly. That's how you fly as a married couple, is when you hone in on your individual crafts.
Yep.
And again, incorporate that into your sacred temple,
Yeah.
which is your marriage and your family.
Absolutely. You back each other up. You got each other's backs.
I got your back.
I got your back.
All right.
All right.
Next videos are going to be
Ooh.
epic.
Wow. Ooh. Spicy.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Peace. We love you.
See you next time.